Hereby convened Westchester Township Trustees meeting for September 24th, 2013. Mr. Jones, roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Present.
Mrs. Stoker?
Here.
Mr. Lang?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first block of meeting, we have citizens comment, 2 minutes per person. First person sign up is our esteemed Butler County Auditor, Mr. Roger Reynolds.
Good evening, trustees.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to come out to my home, Westchester Township. I grew up here, and great place to grow up back in the 70s and 80s, and certainly I'm sure, as we've seen by the continued growth, many people have found this hidden secret out here and along this little highway they call I-75. And so it's great to come out to Westchester Township, and it's even better to come out when we have some good news from the Butler County Auditor's Office. And just wanted to briefly tell you a little bit about the refund that we've given back out of the real estate fund. For those that understand a little bit about the Auditor's Office, 2 main functions. We're the fiscal officer for the county, and we do all the real estate appraisal work for the county as well. Part of that real estate appraisal work includes administering all the tax levies throughout the county. That's not only just county business, that's townships and schools. So there's roughly $400 million a year that roll through the tax accounting department in our office. We are funded by county levy fees, or I should say tax levy fees. So we get a little piece by state code of all levy dollars that we administer. When we're efficient with those dollars, we'll have a surplus, and state code requires that we refund the dollars. And that, in fact, is what I'm doing this evening. Through a lot of efficiencies in the office, we started with roughly 75 people when I went into office in 2008. Right now, we're pretty lean. We're right about 45 people. Wow. And how we've been able to do that largely is making certain we have the right skill sets. I went into office, there was 1 licensed appraiser. Now there's 6 licensed appraisers. And bottom line is there's a lot more that we can do in-house on our own with the new technology that makes us more efficient, and ultimately we're saving tax dollars. So part of that refund is for Westchester Township, and I have a check for fiscal officer Mr. Jones for $164,000 in refunds. And just to give you a little example of, we all know government seems to be the last line of entities to be more efficient. And we've seen it time after time in the public sector over this last 5 years where the private businesses have figured out a way to either survive through more largely labor efficiencies, or they simply went bankrupt. Government slowly is coming around to what they need to do to catch up with modern practices and the use of technology. And I brought a visual aid. And what this is, that's a timesheet. It's a timesheet that we are phasing out of one of the larger departments in Butler County. And you'll see that there's a lot of different tick marks on here. It's taken out to the 3rd decimal point. And bottom line is computers do this work much easier than humans, and actually to do a lot cheaper. And through modern technology, like I said, having the right skill sets in office, we've been able to accommodate the taxpayers at a more efficient level, and the result are surpluses and refunds back to where those tax dollars need to be, and that's servicing the citizens here in Butler County. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
Good job.
And next we have Mr. Stephen Clark. Please state your name and address for record.
Sure. My name is Stephen Clark, 7392 St. Ives Place in Westchester, Ohio. Just had a quick question, and I'm particularly interested in your response, Mr. Wong. Is it appropriate for sitting Westchester trustees to solicit from businesses that do from businesses doing business here in the township the opportunity to do consulting work? Is it appropriate for a Westchester trustee to solicit Westchester businesses for consulting work? Just a simple question. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Boyko, item A.
Yes, I'm pleased to introduce this agenda item. In today's economic climate, business development is one gauge to measure a local economy's vitality. And as I said, I'm pleased to introduce this agenda item. We have, as members of the Enterprise Zone Negotiating Committee, two of which are present, Mr. Larry Bruchaber, who's the chair, and Tom Zangi, have recently met with two businesses in Westchester who we are pleased to retain and would like to expand their current operations here in the community. And through the Enterprise Zone Negotiating Committee, they were able to discuss and concur with some business incentives that we would like to present to the board this evening. So Mr. Brad Evans, our Westchester Attraction and Retention Manager, is going to present to you those two cases.
Good evening. Tonight I'm here to present two applications to the Ohio Enterprise Zone program. The first application for consideration is Contingent Network Services. I would like to introduce Jeff Stein. He is the Chief Financial Officer representing Contingent Network Services this evening, and Dan Borski. He's a consultant from Enterprise Advisory Group. Contingent Network Services is currently evaluating proposed expansion to its Westchester headquarters facilities. The company is also considering a satellite location in Raleigh, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, or the Silicon Valley in lieu of expanding here. Contingent Network Services is a global technology services company that specializes in managed, secure, wide-area networks, integration, logistics, and maintenance for large enterprises. The company deploys and manages wide-area network infrastructure like circuits, security appliances, routers, switches, wireless devices, and many other components found in large multi-site networks. As a global company, Contingent Network Services provides services to its clients in more than 130 countries. Notable customers include Procter & Gamble, Kraft, Best Buy, Barnes & Noble, and Chick-fil-A. For 6 consecutive years, Contingent has made the Inc. 5000 list of America's fastest-growing private companies. And earlier this year, the Business Courier named the company to its 55 fastest-growing companies in Greater Cincinnati. And Cincy Magazine has named the company one of the Tri-State's most successful and consistent businesses. This proposed project consists of constructing a 75,000 square foot office facility immediately adjacent to the company's current 50,000 square foot facility located at 4400 Port Union Road. Contingent Network Services plans to make a minimum capital investment of $5.4 million in the expansion project, of which $4.5 million will be invested in new real property improvements to construct the new building, and another $165,500 will be invested in new machinery and equipment, primarily servers and software. As a result of this proposed expansion, 120 full-time permanent jobs will be retained. These retained jobs have an average annual wage of $65,000, and 75 new full-time permanent positions will be created at an average annual wage of $40,000. The Community Development Department conducted a thorough review of this proposed project and presented it to the Westchester Enterprise Zone Committee. The Enterprise Zone Committee is recommending the trustees support an exemption of 65% on the new real property investment of $4.5 million for a term of 8 years. The recommendation is based on the retention and expansion of an existing company in one of Westchester's targeted industries, the IT sector, the retention of 120 full-time permanent jobs with the average annual wage of $65,000, plus the creation of 75 new full-time permanent positions at an average annual wage of $40,000. The expansion will eliminate the risk of the company relocating to another community, and the substantial real property investment generates new tax revenue. The exemption will be conditioned upon the company successfully negotiating and executing a school compensation agreement with the Lakota Local School District, the company's compliance with other program requirements set forth in the Enterprise Zone Agreement, including annual program fees to Butler County and the Westchester Development Council. Appropriate permit approvals, including approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals if necessary, and review by the Butler County Prosecutor's Office and approval by the Butler County Commissioners. Thank you for considering this application to the Ohio Enterprise Zone Program. I would now like to invite Mr. Stein to speak on behalf of the company and answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you to the trustees for taking a little time to hear us this evening. Brad did a great job of giving a little background on our organization. I'd like to give you a little bit more. The organization started in 1994. It was actually a division of Laystar up in Dayton. In 2002, our current ownership group acquired that division. Shortly thereafter, moved us to Westchester. We had an office on International Boulevard. 3.5 years ago, we built our present site on Port Union, $3.5 million investment, 50,000 square foot facility on Port Union. At the time, we had about 50 or 60 employees. We're now up to 120. Over the last 3 years, we've more than doubled our revenue. Over the next 3 years, we plan to double it again. In the last 3.5 years since we've been on site, we had 2 existing pole barns, which were on site, used primarily for storage. We've converted those 2 buildings to office space and actually a fitness center for our employees, and we're busting at the seams again. The reality for us as an organization is we are in growth mode. We're in the technology sector. We're a vibrant organization. As Brad said, we're Fast 55 this year. We're actually Fast 55 for 3 of the last 6 years, which I think is a great honor. And this the opportunity that we're presenting to Westchester and that we ask from Westchester, I think will assist us in continuing to remain a viable and local presence. Any questions?
I have none. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to in closing, that the Enterprise Zone Committee is recommending that the trustees approve Contingent Network Services application to the State of Ohio Enterprise Zone Program for a 65% real property exemption on the new real property investment of $4.5 million for a term of 8 years. And again, the Enterprise Zone Agreement would be conditioned upon the company successfully negotiating and executing a school compensation agreement with Lakota, the company's compliance with program requirements set forth in the Enterprise Zone Agreement, including the annual program fees to Butler County and the Westchester Development Council, the appropriate permit approvals, including the Board of Zoning Appeals, if necessary, and review by the Butler County Prosecutor's Office and approval by the Butler County Commissioners. And if this application receives favorable approval this evening, it will be forwarded to Butler County for their meeting on September 26th, so this coming Thursday.
In the appropriate location on your electronic agendas, there is a sample motion on page 3 of this particular case.
Sure, I've got it here. I'll make the motion to approve Contingent Network Services application to the State of Ohio Enterprise Zone Program for a 65% exemption on the new real property investment of $4.5 million for a term of 8 years based on 1, the retention and expansion of an existing company in a targeted industry, 2, the retention of 120 jobs in Westchester, plus the creation of 75 new full-time permanent positions, 3, the expansion eliminates the risk of relocation to another community, 4, the new real property improvements generate new tax revenue. The Enterprise Zone Agreement is conditioned upon 1, Contingent Network Services successfully negotiating and executing a school compensation agreement with the Lakota Local School District, 2, the company's compliance with other program requirements set forth in the Enterprise Zone Agreement, including annual program fees to Butler County and Westchester Development Council, 3, conformance with applicable land development regulations, and 4, subject to formal review by the Butler County Prosecutor's Office and approval by the Butler County Commissioners. Should Contingent Network Services fail to meet the terms and conditions of the Enterprise Zone Agreement, Westchester has the right under Ohio Revised Code, in cooperation with Butler County, to require the company to repay the total tax benefit received while operating at the project site.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
I think this is a very exciting company to be growing in our community. It's one of those sectors that we think are very important to our community, and that's what we're all about, is growing good quality businesses with good quality jobs to help our community prosper.
I agree. They currently have 120 jobs with an average pay of $65,000 per, and the additional 75 jobs are going to average about $40,000. So it's going to bring total annual payroll up from roughly $7.8 million to $10.8 million. And as I like to say, this is the type of industry that we really like to have in Westchester, something you can sustain your community on. So I applaud you guys for making the investment in our community.
This is advanced manufacturing industry. This is what Westchester Township is targeting for, and we would like to retain a company here. So, anything else? Mr. Jones? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes,
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
thank you very much.
We have one other application.
The next application for consideration is Systicon. I'd like to introduce the company's president, Marty Tierney, who's here with us this evening. Systicon is contemplating an expansion to its Westchester manufacturing and headquarters operation. Systicon develops and manufactures custom pumping and control systems for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning water systems. The company specializes in applying variable speed drives to provide highly efficient pumping systems through integrating pumps, pipes, heat exchangers, and controls into complete HVAC systems. The company's custom-designed and manufactured systems have been installed at primary and secondary schools, hospitals, hotels, universities, manufacturing operations, libraries, chemical plants, and office buildings. A couple of their notable customers include Procter & Gamble, General Motors, Eli Lilly, Walmart, and Embassy Suites Hotels. Systicon is considering an expansion of its headquarters facility located at 6121 Schumacher Park Drive. What's driving this growth is the company's modular HVAC systems have become more widely accepted. The proposed project includes the construction of an additional 50,000 square feet onto the company's existing 60,000 square foot facility, as well as equipping the facility with the necessary machinery and equipment. The proposed project will create 18 full-time permanent positions, most of which will be engineers and welders, at an average annual wage of $45,000. This expansion will also retain 63 full-time permanent positions with an average annual wage of nearly $75,000. Systicon plans to make a minimum capital investment of $2.7 million in the expansion, of which $2.1 million will be invested in new real property improvements to construct the addition onto the company's existing facility, and another $600,000 will be invested in machinery and equipment, including overhead cranes. The Community Development Department conducted a thorough review of the proposed project and presented it to the Westchester Enterprise Zone Committee. The Enterprise Zone Committee is recommending the trustees support an exemption of 55% on the new real property investment of $2.1 million for a term of 7 years. These recommendations are based on the retention and expansion of a longtime corporate citizen in the manufacturing industry, the retention of 63 full-time permanent positions with an average annual wage of $75,000, plus the creation of 18 new full-time permanent positions with an average annual wage of $45,000. This expansion will eliminate the risk of relocation to another community, and the substantial real property investment generates new tax revenue. This exemption will be contingent upon the company successfully negotiating and executing a school compensation agreement with the Lakota Local School District. The company's compliance with other program requirements set forth in the Enterprise Zone Agreement, including annual program fees to Butler County and to the Westchester Development Council, the appropriate permit approvals, including any approvals from the Board of Zoning Appeals if necessary, and the review by the Butler County Prosecutor's Office and approval by the Butler County Commissioners. Again, thank you for considering this application this evening as well, and I would like to ask Mr. Tierney to speak on behalf of his company and to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Just a few comments I'd like to add. We've been in Westchester for 23 years now. We moved up here from Reading in 2000, built a 30,000 square foot facility. 10 years later, we doubled that capacity, moved down the street to a 60,000 square foot facility. Now we want to basically double that to 114,000 square feet. Our approach is a modular approach, which is growing. Our main competitor is a mechanical contractor, can do what we do in our facility. He can do it out in the field. Studies have shown we can do it 15% cheaper than a field-erected system. We're getting more competition as a result of that. It kind of hurts our margins a little bit, but the pie is growing. And in 2012, our sales were about $21 million. In 2013, our sales were $39 million. And we don't plan on going backwards. We ended up running 25,000 square feet in Fairfield for 4 or 5 months this past year to aid in our growth, and it was rather inefficient, and we've decided we need to expand. We like Westchester. We like the no earnings tax. Very fine community. We do have 63 employees, 15 of which live in Butler County, 10 of which live in Westchester, Liberty Township. We need skilled tradespeople, electricians and welders, as well as engineers, and I think it'd be a good situation if we could stay and expand here in Westchester. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
There's a sample motion available for on page 11 of your memorandum.
Want me to give this one a try? Okay. I'll make a motion then to approve Sistacon's application to the State of Ohio Enterprise Zone Program for a 55% exemption on the new real property investment of $2.1 million for a term of 7 years based on, number one, the retention and expansion of an existing company in the manufacturing sector, 2, the retention of 63 jobs in Westchester, plus the creation of 18 new full-time permanent positions. 3, the expansion eliminates the risk of relocation to another community. And 4, the new real property improvements generate new tax revenue. The enterprise zone agreement is conditioned upon 1, Sistacon successfully negotiating and executing a school compensation agreement with the Lakota Local School District, and 2, the company's compliance with other program requirements set forth in the enterprise zone agreement, including annual program fees to Butler County and the Westchester Development Council, and 3, conformance with applicable land development regulations, and 4, subject to formal review by the Butler County Prosecutor's Office and approval by the Butler County Commissioners. Should Sistacon fail to meet the terms and conditions of the enterprise zone agreement, Westchester has the right, under the Ohio Revised Code, in cooperation with Butler County, to require the company to repay the total tax benefit received while operating at the project site. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? Let me make myself a correction. Earlier when you were talking, I was reading the summary here. Contingent is an IT technology company. I apologize. Sistacon is an advanced manufacturing. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say again, this is a sector we're very interested in encouraging in our community. I think it's very good for our community. My husband and I cut our teeth in advanced manufacturing techniques. We originally started out as custom programmers for manufacturing technology. In other words, we programmed factory robots in exotic environments. Then moved on to this new thing called the internet. But it's a great sector. It's a growing sector. It's a dynamic sector. It's perfect for Westchester, and I'm very pleased to see them coming in.
Thank you for the investment you're making in our community.
Likewise, again, I want to say that Westchester like to keep company like you. We have many biotech companies here, hospitals, and there is a lot of good business in this area. Thank you. Mr. Jones, roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Action item C. I will entertain a motion to approve
So
additional.
we have one
We have
additional.
a
Oh,
proclamation.
no. I'm sorry.
So I'm going to ask the Chief to go ahead and join me at the podium. While they're making their way, I'll just introduce annually during this time of year, we the community commemorates Fire Prevention Week with various themes. This year's theme is Prevent Fire Kitchens, which I'm sure we can all very much appreciate. I will allow the chief and the captain and the chief to share with you some of the alarming statistics about kitchen fires. But on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the Fiscal Officer, Mr. Jones, Chief and Captain, I'd like to present this to you for commemorating Fire Prevention Week.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. I want to thank you, everybody, for allowing us to come up again this year. Seems like it was just last month we were up here before. And Fire Prevention Month is not just something that we want to do throughout the month of October, but Westchester Fire Department strives to do fire prevention throughout the year. This year's theme, Prevent Kitchen Fires, is one of the ones that's near and dear to us. Roughly 85% of the fires that we find in kitchens or in homes are the result of kitchen fires. Careless cooking, unattended cooking, and through the actions of our firefighters, our administration, we are reaching out to homeowners associations, multifamily apartment complexes, and we're really pushing a lot more safety, a lot more attentiveness in trying to reduce. We would like to make Westchester the oddball in the national statistics and having us much lower than what we're finding across the country. And throughout all the programs that we have throughout the year, I think we're going to reach our goal and be even more safe than we are today. So, but this only comes because of the backing of not only Ms. Boyka, but you as the trustees and also the fire chief and all of our firefighters. It couldn't be done without any of you guys supporting us as much as you do. So I want to take the time to thank you very much, and hopefully we'll be back next year and we'll be able to show you our numbers have dropped.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks. Keep up the good work.
That's no exaggeration. I think it was about 15 years ago. Remember the fire at Woodbridge off the lake at that time? That started with a grease fire on a stove. Lost an entire apartment building with 53 families. It was a miracle. No people were injured. All the pets died, except I think for the one cat and one ferret. But it was a miracle that people's lives weren't lost. And just from a little grease fire on top of a stove.
Well, and like I said, our firefighters are probably the best around. So
we were lucky we didn't have any police or firemen injured. They acted just heroically during that effort. Like I said, these little things are so important. So we thank you so very much for your conscientious approach to this very, very important and vital issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Captain. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Item C. I'll make a motion to approve addition to a lighting district in Grace Meadows subdivision, Phase 2B, as illustrated in the attached plan documentation.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve trustee meeting minutes, August 13, 2013.
Also move.
Discussion?
We had two motions, not 1 second.
I think I was considering him as making the motion.
made the motion.
You said you'll make the motion.
Yes.
And then you're seconding it?
Yes.
You said also move.
Back up.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, did you say second? I thought you said second.
I thought I said second. I thought you made the motion and I said
I made a
second.
motion.
Yeah,
she
you said I so
second.
moved, so I just want to make sure.
No, she says
No, she said also
Did I
move.
mishear? You want to shall
No,
we
as
restate
long
it
as
just
it's
for
on
the record?
that Lee made the motion and you seconded it.
As I understand it, Lee made the motion and I seconded it.
Okay. That's
Discussion.
just not what was said.
So if you want to clarify it, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Sure, do it again.
I motion to approve trustee meeting minutes, August 13, 2013.
Also move.
And you have to
You
second.
want a second?
I can't. I wasn't there. I'm not going to second it.
Oh, okay.
You
Would
can second it, Lee.
Oh, I will second.
There you go.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
I will abstain because I missed that meeting due to a death in the family.
Item E. I made a motion to approve public hearing minutes for Beckett Ridge PUD, case number MC 02-13, August 13, 2013.
That I'll second because he just made the
Yeah,
motion.
that's correct.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
I abstain for the same reason given earlier.
I made a motion to approve trustee meeting minutes, August 27, 2013.
Can I make that motion with the proviso that we include one correction that I distributed to the members of the board and Mr. Jones? Basically, in our discussion of electric aggregation, Mr. Jones reported me as saying that the residents have saved over $650, and I went back and looked at the video, and what I said was the residents have saved together more than $9 million, over $650 each, so I've requested that change per the video itself.
And when it comes to my comments there, it said, I disagreed terming the aggregation
Have we
as horrible.
seconded this yet?
Huh?
Have we
Did he?
seconded this motion?
No, we're discussing.
He's discussing
Yeah, I think I want to
changes.
make
He might wanna
a
make
change too. I would like to add, I know I used the word that is a disingenuous statement, because in my opinion it isn't true. And the other parts of it being untrue, I think Bruce did a good job of capturing. But I would just like to add in there that I said that's a disingenuous statement.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you changing, asking for a correction to the minutes?
I'm asking to add a modification to the minutes as well.
Okay.
Later it says Lang said he disagreed, terming the aggregation a horrible use of government powers, and that the government should not be interfering with free markets, rather let business create the market. He said any saving comparison should include what people would save if they had opted out of the aggregation and gone elsewhere, and that the township had actually opted out of the aggregation program. I would just like to say that regarding the savings, I also said that was a disingenuous statement, which is what I said at the meeting.
I have no problem if that's what you said at the
Yeah.
meeting and you want to include that. I have no problem. Did you want to write that up for Mr. Jones?
Sure, I can, I'll give him the verbiage
sort of
right
a-
after, just add the words.
A
I said the
five-word
savings were-
sentence and just stick it
Yeah.
right in there.
Perfect,
I have no problem with that.
perfect.
Okay, all right.
I don't agree, but I have no problem with the
Right.
fact that you said it.
We have a second?
Sure, I'll second,
Motion?
actually, I think we need to remake the motion based on the modifications.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to accept the minutes with the correction submitted by myself and Mr. Lang.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item G, I made a motion to approve payment of bills.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mrs. Boyko, requisition greater than $2,500.
Item 1, in order to maintain the professional appearance and aesthetics of the Community Development Department, we are requesting a requisition in the amount of $4,893 to VOX, and this is to paint the offices and the common areas of the Community Development office space. Item 2, fire, $27,470 to Howl Rescue Systems. This is to replace the Hearst extrication equipment, which is called the Jaws of Life. This is a 1970 piece of equipment based on it's exceeded its life expectancy, and parts and ancillary types of equipment for this piece of equipment for the fire operations are very difficult to obtain. I would like to note that this particular cost does reflect a trade-in value, which would be reflected in item 10 on your agenda, which is a statutory resolution to declare certain portions of this piece of equipment obsolete, unneeded, or unfit for continued use. And so, again, this number reflects the trade-in value, and hopefully the trustees would approve that statutory resolution to allow us to declare that unfit and then proceed with the trade-in. Item 3, fire, $3,158.20 to Assistant Chief Rick Prinz. This is to reimburse tuition per the township policy. Item 4, $3,017.20 to Best One Tire. Purchase 4 rear tires for the vehicle number 502, which is engine 74. Obviously, purchase and replace. Item 15, police, $16,900 to Shelving Incorporated. This is to replace the evidence locker rooms for their property room, which are built-in cabinetry. Based on this capital improvement, it's part of the structure and its life expectancy. This is an eligible use of tax increment financing, and requested that the board consider using and approve using the State Route 747 TIF project fund. And item 15, police, item 6, police, $15,682.72 to Kronos. Actually, this is multi-departmental police, fire, and also communications. This is to renew the annual service and support for the telestaff, scheduling, and ancillary payroll functions of our public safety departments. We've had this software enacted, I want to say maybe 3, 4, 5 years. I apologize, I don't know the exact time period, but it has demonstrated a return on its investment, and we have initiated more efficient operational procedures.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for item 1 through 6.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Personnel items.
Item 7, I'd like to request the hiring of 3 part-time employees to fill vacant positions. As you know, we have a complement of part-time fire staff, and these are to continue in filling that complement. We have not yet reached that full complement, so we request the hire of firefighter 2 EMT Joseph Engelbert, firefighter 2 EMT Jacob Garnett, firefighter 2 EMT John Bonert, effective September 25th, 2013, all at the hourly rate of $15.92 with a 1-year probationary period and contingent upon successful completion of the applicable testing and procedures.
I will entertain a motion for item 7.
I'll make the motion we approve item 7.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Business items.
Requesting the board's consideration to appoint a member to the Enterprise Zone Committee. You may recall one of the committee members recently relocated from Westchester as part of a retirement from career. And so we are recommending Mr. Scott Gilliam to fill that vacant position. These terms are not have no expiration and have no renewal date. So we are just requesting the board consider appointing Mr. Scott Gilliam.
I will entertain a motion for item 8.
It would be my honor to make the motion that we appoint Scott Gillen to be a member of our Enterprise Zone Committee.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item 9.
There are 5 properties Community Development Department would like the board's consideration to declare as public nuisances. It is a detailed analysis and study of those properties in your electronic agenda item, and I would entertain a motion for your consideration.
I will entertain a motion for item 9.
I'll make the motion that after having reviewed the staff reports and affidavits, I move that we declare the properties listed on the Westchester Township Board of Trustees meeting agenda dated September 24, 2013, to be public nuisances as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. Staff is directed to cause removal of the nuisances identified and monitor the properties for 90 days to require continued compliance. An administrative charge of 25% shall be added to the contractor fee for the properties.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item 10.
I referenced this resolution previously with the purchase of the Jaws of Life Hearst equipment. This is a statutory resolution that Ohio Revised Code permits townships upon resolution to find personal property obsolete, unneeded, or unfit for continued use. And what Chief Guller is requesting the board do is declare that this personal property, as listed on the agenda item, be declared obsolete, unneeded, or unfit for continued use, and to approve this resolution declaring said. So the motion to approve statutory resolution number 15-2013, finding Hearst extrication equipment not needed or unfit for public use, and authorizing the sale of said equipment to Howell Rescue Systems, and crediting the sale price of said equipment toward the purchase of Genesis extrication equipment from Howell Rescue Systems.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for item 10.
I'll make the motion we approve item 10.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item 11.
Item 11 is a motion to not object to a new liquor permit for American Multi-Cinema Incorporated, doing business as AMC Westchester 18.
I will entertain a motion for item 11.
I'll move that we not object to the liquor permit for American Multi-Cinema, Inc.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item 12.
The Ohio statute permits, again, townships and board of trustees by resolution to declare surplus items for disposal. This particular section of the statute is referencing specifically fair market value of $2,500 or less. And so these are the process we must follow according to the statute. So motion to approve statutory resolution number 16-2013, declaring surplus items for disposal. As part of the resolution, it does list those items that staff at this time is recommending that either be disposed through auction, discarded, salvaged, sold, recycled, and or traded in. Those are the categories.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for item 12.
I move we approve statutory resolution number 16-2013, declaring surplus items for disposal.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Judy, for those items that we sell, what vehicle will we use to sell those?
We post them on the website.
On our own website?
Yes.
Sort of Westchester Craigslist.
Yes, but not quite as complex.
Would we be better off doing one of those free market bid sites where...
We've attempted to do that. However, I shouldn't say we've attempted. We've considered doing that. Candidly, the operational value and time, and from a functional and complexity of turning from PayPal and collecting all that
They sell for so small it's not worth the administrative cost.
Thank you.
Perfect. And when we auction, how do we do that? Do we do that ourselves?
It depends on the piece of equipment.
Yeah.
There's some auctions that were required by statute for us if a particular police item or fire, and there's some by statute we have to auction off through a very formal process. Others, I think that's mostly subject to the statute.
Okay. I was just curious.
I could get exact detailed information if you have a specific piece of equipment that...
Yeah, you can get back to me on that.
Okay. Is there
I'm
any
just looking at the vehicles.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Jones, roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Okay. Item 13, first reading of a resolution and reading of emergency resolution.
Okay, there is no first resolution. We do have a reading of an emergency resolution, and this is regarding a financial procedure. Annually, the Board of Trustees must accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Butler County Budget Commission, and this is the resolution and the process to do said. Resolution number 17-2013, accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
All right. So we'll move on to citizens' comment. Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Carl Ruhlman, 8285 Vental Drive, Westchester. Or should I say beautiful uptown Westchester. The principle of transparency in government is probably most often discussed relative to our national government. Administrations that have their own agenda or that operate on the edge of adherence to existing law will frequently seek to prevent public knowledge of mistakes, hush-hush agreements, or unpopular transactions, things that are politically harmful to themselves or to their favorites. Also, efforts to avoid disclosures to the people also occur at our local level. We, the people, have every right to know, as specified in both national and state constitutions, about the dealings, agreements, spending, and revenue details of our elected township government, which is supported by the taxes of our citizens. Citizens want to trust those whom they have elected to conduct and report on operations with good faith transparency, without efforts to withhold information through legal agreements within their literal or liberal interpretation of the law. Citizens want to trust that governments will operate within the letter of the law, as well as the more important spirit of the law. At this point, though, I don't know whether our meeting agendas have good news or bad news. Up until the middle of July of last year, legal bills would appear on the agenda at least monthly, with amounts ranging from $20,000 to over $60,000 per month. Then, after the July 10th, 2012 trustee meeting, no more legal bills appear on the agendas for payment. So the question arises, are the bills since then each less than $2,500 each, which is our break point for payment of bills that must come to the trustees to approve in a public meeting? So the question arises that are they each, have we saved money? Well, that would certainly be good news if our annual expense for legal fees became substantially less. Reason for applause, I suppose. However, perhaps you have trustees within your final authority and responsibility for transparency have found some way to legally, within your interpretation, not in the spirit of the law, not disclose the amounts of dollars expended in this area. So as Mr. Bill Cunningham would say, give me a full report. And my question, are the citizens entitled to see all bills greater than $2,500 on the trustee agenda or not? Or are they approved in executive sessions where you have prevented the fiscal officer from attending? How much did Westchester Township spend for legal services in 2012? And how much has been spent through August of this year? Whatever scheme you have devised, the public will not stand for intentional hiding of significant information. By the way, don't call me with the information or send me a letter. Make your answers complete and in this public forum. And if there's some agreement, that occurred way in the past that you've interpreted as leading up to this, well, then why did you wait till July of 2012 to initiate the absence of transparency? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Anyone else? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Vernon DeMoy. I live at 5906 Hazeltine Court in Westchester. I've got two things. First, I had reason recently to call an ambulance for a member of my family, and I was thoroughly impressed with the courtesy and the professionalism of the people that arrived and took care of the issue at hand. And so I want to I want to let you all know that occurred, and I want to let you all know how much I really appreciate how great a job our EMTs did here in Westchester. The second question I have for you is roughly 5 or 6 months ago, I had the opportunity to visit with each of you regarding an issue that's very important to me and others, and that was the issue of putting police cameras into police cars with the ability to monitor what was going on and for many reasons. And I haven't heard anything in 5 or 6 months, and so I was wondering today if you might be able to share your progress and your interest in putting cameras into police cars. So that is my issue, and I look forward to hearing more about it from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
Anyone else?
Brian McManus, 7694 Kennesaw Drive, Westchester, Ohio. I just want to thank the fire department. Looking at the minutes tonight, working with a Hearst tool that's circa 1970s is amazing. And speaking to their upgoing maintenance and taking care of their equipment, I think we as a township ought to be proud of how hard they work to keep on top of those things. And then I just want to thank the township board for approving the new Hearst tool. I know that seems like a no-brainer, but that $27,000 is nothing compared to the lives that it's going to save someday. And so I just want to thank you for doing that. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Mark Morris. I live at 8876 Eagle View Drive. I came to ask the township trustees about the park that's located on Beckett Road. I don't know if we're maintaining the park or what we're doing with it. I know at one point I was told that those are wildflowers that are supposed to be there. I recently experienced a situation where there are snakes that are hiding in those wildflowers now, along with several hundred ducks and geese that seem to enjoy the little, I guess it's a water pond that's supposed to be an ice skating rink. And if you investigate a little bit more, it's actually completely filled with bird waste, which to me is beginning to create a health hazard. So my question is do we have any intentions of cutting down the wildflowers in the fall and letting them come back in the spring? Or because no one's really using the park, because I feel like it's become a safety issue now. Between the birds, no one walks through the park. They all walk on the blacktop because of the critters and things that are hiding in all those supposed wildflowers that to me looks like a big weed bed at this point. So that was my only question, if the township plans on maintaining it, that park, as well as they do the park that's across the street. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Anyone else?
Stephen Clark, 7392 St. Ives Place in Westchester. I want to thank Judy Boyko and her staff for giving me the information for the proposal that was for the crosswalk up in Beckett Ridge. It's been so controversial. It appears that the township paid $10 a square foot to dig up some sod and put in some concrete, and that was some years ago. Our company recently built, and that's 4-inch thick concrete. Our company recently bid some commercial work that we did. It was 8-inch thick concrete, and we bid it at $5 a square foot. So just wanted to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the citizens' comment and move on to vote on emergency resolution. I will entertain a motion to declare resolution number 17-2013 an emergency and dispense with the second reading.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 17-2013 as read and as already declared an emergency.
Also move.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Discussion items and trustee comments. Okay.
I have no items for discussion or for comment. However, if the board wishes, I could entertain a couple of
Address Mr. Ruhlman's concern that we're hiding bills.
Well, I think there were several that if the board so chooses, I could address, or if you would prefer to address it on your own, that's entirely up your decision.
Could you add staff's impression, or we can add then whatever we wish?
I didn't
Wong?
understand.
Oh, she was asking if she could give
I heard that.
responding to, and she said if that was okay with us. I
Sure.
said it was okay with me because we could add our own as
Yeah,
well.
I don't have a problem with that.
And to clarify, my wasn't I would like to add. I said if the board wishes for me to, I certainly could provide you with some.
No,
Well, I guess I'll go from reverse order. Mr. Clark had mentioned about the cost of the square footage based on his analysis and calculations of the applied the extension of the sidewalk for the crosswalk. That price per square foot did also include ensuring that the sidewalks were handicap accessible. They were required to be ADA compliant, not only including the slope but also the dome and also the grids that were required as part of that ADA compliance. So I think that cost does include some of the other ancillary type of improvements that were necessary.
Does it
because
include engineering?
No. Regarding the Beckett Park, the primary goal of the development of Beckett Park, both the east and west side, or the west side specifically, as we expanded on that development, the primary goal was to decrease the cost for continued and long-term maintenance. And so the west side of Beckett Park was designed to work with the existing topography of the property, but also to plant habitat, native types of flowers and species to the area and allow it to grow in a very natural state. I think that there was some debate amongst the board on whether it was one man's beauty is another woman's blight. So we understand that there are varying opinions regarding that, but the primary goal was to reduce the long-term cost of its maintenance. The wildflowers, or the natural habitat, is addressed every several years, where based on best practices of maintaining the integrity of that type of habitat, it is mowed, or they suggested that we burn it. We're certainly not going to do that. But as part of the habitat, there also is I believe it's about a 10 to 12 foot wide swath that is mowed throughout the habitat, so that there is a clearance area. I may be a unique person, but I do run that area, so I enjoy running on that grass. Regarding the Clear Lake, that has been a challenge. Mr. Morris very astutely recognized there are times when the critters like to defecate in that particular Clear Lake. We do have a very constant cleaning protocol for that, because not only is that used as a mirror kind of Clear Lake in the warmer months, but also it's intended and hopefully freezes in the winter months so people can enjoy ice skating. There were some challenges in being able to address and to utilize the use of that Clear Lake for both purposes. However, we have a very constant and very continuous treatment of that particular water in the warmer months, and that it is cleaned several times a week. So perhaps when he visited it, it was either right at the weekend or right after the weekend, and we just hadn't gotten to it for that particular day. But it is monitored very closely and it is cleaned very regularly. Regarding Mr. DeMoy's comments on the police cameras, he is exactly right, and there needs to be some public discussion regarding that. I know that I've asked the chief several times on the status of his research of that particular item, and it is a very complex issue only because the technology changes. And the chief wants to ensure that whatever he's presenting to the board and for public discussion is the most up-to-date technology that is the most efficient operationally and cost-effectively for his operations. So I would like to be able to present to you perhaps at your next meeting, should the chief be ready, we can present that to you at the next meeting for a summary of that and maybe a status report that we could provide to Mr. DeMoy directly as well. And then regarding the expenditures for Frost Brown Todd, statute does permit that recurring, ongoing type of expenditures can be approved as part of the operational procedures of just the finance. Similarly to how you approve utilities, how you approve payroll, health insurance, pension funds, those are all considered by statute. Legal fees, utilities, all of those are considered under that same umbrella and same category. After discussion with the law director to ensure that it was legal, we did present to the board that process, and I believe the board was not unanimous on that procedure, but we did have a majority to institute that we would be paying those as part of under the statute of the recurring, ongoing type of cost. Certainly, if the board has a change of position and would no longer like to do that, we certainly can continue to revisit and bring those back as part of agenda items.
Be that as it may, though, they're all open to public perusal, right? These are not hidden. And there are no votes going on in executive session, much less any votes to pay anything.
Correct. And no action can be taken during executive session.
Okay. Trustee comments. Soleil?
Sure. My take on the difference in the crosswalk that Mr. Clark pointed out is a little different than Ms. Boyko's, although I believe what she said was very accurate. I just think business does things significantly much more efficiently than government can do. So that's kind of my take on that. As it regards the legal bills, you were right, it wasn't unanimous. I was the one that did not want to put our legal bills under that umbrella, if you will. And I still feel like, and I still don't have an issue. In the sake of transparency, I wish we would change our policy and have our legal bills posted every month like we used to for the first 9 years that I sat on this board. I just think that's good policy on our part. Regarding Mr. DeMoy's comments about the police cameras, I agree with you, Chip. I would like to give Eric some credit on this. I know he's been working diligently. I've had several meetings with him over the last year. We're not as far as long as I would like to see it, but I think that's because he's doing a good job and being very diligent. And I hope in the near future we do have cruiser cams on all of our police to record not just video but audio as well. I just think that is a really smart thing for us to do. And I can go into all the reasons why, but that's not important at this point. I think it's a good idea. That's it.
I have to agree with my fellow trustee, Mr. Lang. Where'd you go? There he is. I've talked with Judy about this, and I can testify that she has been working with the police chief. I also think that there are reasons why it would be very beneficial, both to our police force and to the community, to have that. Apropos transparency. Anybody who watched cop shows know that there's one action that goes on during the arrest of some poor inebriated soul, and there's a whole other discussion that goes on after the poor person sobers up and doesn't even remember what happened. It's nice if there's that cameras right there so everybody knows exactly what's happened. But that's something, as Mrs. Boyko was saying, technology changes all the time. If we're going to look into this, let's do it right. And look at the pros and cons of different kinds of equipment, different protocols, etc. So that's it. We're taking our usual slow, ponderous governmental approach to making that decision. But we're moving, I think we're probably moving towards that. We haven't had public discussion because Mrs. Boyko has not been able to bring to us a specific project, equipment, method protocol. When that happens, then we can have a public discussion about an actual something we can get our hands on and talk about.
I like to look at the costs.
Apropos, township trustees soliciting business. I'm in business for myself. Mr. Lang's in business for myself. One of my best long-term clients is a resident of Westchester. That's where his business was formed and created. And this flow of, and I suspect you've probably called up friends and say, wow, I got a great opportunity for you. This is the whole reason for the Chamber of Commerce luncheons, is so business people can get together and exchange ideas and talk about opportunities or challenges, etc. So that's kind of an ebb and flow that goes on all the time. This is not.
Thank you. This is trustee comment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could clarify what I'm saying, I'm talking about trustees working with businesses. I do it all the time. That's my business. We provide custom software for highly specialized businesses. That's what we do, that use the internet. And you provide customized services for businesses, sure. Business solutions. So that solicitation goes on between, I believe, any township trustee that has a business is going to be working with
I think as long as you disclose conflicts,
the
that's the key there.
Yeah. I don't know of anybody here that's voted for something where they had a conflict of interest, where they, I haven't. If anything came up, I would always say, hey, even if I don't have a finely tuned conflict, if there's to avoid an appearance, I would say I'd just as soon not vote on, particular.
Yeah.
And I think you've done the same
Sure.
on the occasion.
You had.
I've abstained multiple times.
Yeah. Anything else? I have one comment is I get out a lot outdoors, and I love riding my bicycle around township. I get to see people, and I just enjoy outdoors. And I see a lot of people using our parks all the time. Sidewalk, even that Beckett Park, that natural habitat. In fact, I just saw someone walking on it today, husband and wife, with a dog. So the park is a good thing, is well used. And as far as the part about the pool, I think Ms. Boyko have addressed that. It is a challenge. We have 500 geese here, and that's tough.
Even without the geese, I have a large fish pond, and they have to be clean. Any body of water has to be cleaned regularly, or it fills in. Leaves fall on the surface, drift down, rot, algae forms, rots. All of that will build it up till pretty soon the pond. So that's whether or not we had geese, we'd be cleaning out that area regularly.
Okay, about the question that one resident asked, I do not own a business. I'm a resident here. I do help businesses to be successful. I want to support business in Westchester. So, if you find there's something wrong with that, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing is wrong with that. We have executive session. I will adjourn this meeting to executive session. I will entertain the motion to adjourn the regular meeting and go into executive session with legal counsel for the purpose of considering and discussing 1. Personnel matters. A. Discuss contract negotiation for certain collective bargaining units. B. Review provisions of benefits for non-contract and contract employees. 2. Acquisition, sale, and swap of real property. 3. Current and pending litigation. The board will not return.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.